All right. Today I am working on a mixed media project and I am using some of the clip art from my Art of Fusion Collage Companion Book 2. And this book is over 100 pages of vintage clip art and grunge, vintage, some modern double-sided printed pages. I've done a flip through of the entire book. If you want to check out the previous YouTube video, I've just cut out some of the fussy cut some of the ephemera. I have some just laying here on the side. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use. I've been playing around with some. I know that this was my main focal image, which is from a vintage sewing pattern. I have fussy cut all the images. I've taken a little bit of StazOn ink and gone around the edges. I have pre-painted my canvas with just some cream and yellow ochre just so that it'd be done and dry. And I'm going to add some stamp tissue, some rice paper, little vintage book paper. I'm going to collage that on real quick and get my glue stick. Get that all kind of tacked down as my fan tries to start blowing it all over. Right, and I am going to let mine carry over the sides. The text here is from an Iron Orchid oversized stamp that I like to use. Get that wet. Get that to lay down. The rice paper is, I want to say it's from Joggles. Again, I am pulling that down. I really like stamping on tissue for collage because it goes clear. You can see what's underneath. You can audition before you stamp. And that's just some vintage from a magazine. Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom. This is off the top of a piece of scrapbook paper, and I liked the little bit of pink in it. And I'm just going to use it here at the bottom. It's got numbers and like a little pink band. And again, I'm going to let that fold down over the sides. Have a small, it's a Hotel Victoria. Like a little travel. I don't know if they put them on suitcases or how that advertising. All right, so then I'm going to put my girls. She lost a leg when I was trying to move the ink, but I have the leg on my desk. If I didn't lose it. It will show up. It's somewhere on this desk. Also, I wanted to point out that when you cut out some of your images, save the scraps, because like this scrap I'll use, it's double-sided. So a lot of times the part you're cutting away, you can use some kind of image. So I'll just stick that in my scraps to use on another project. Now, I do not care if you buy the paperback book. If you choose to make scanned copies, so that you can use images more than once. Sometimes it's hard to decide what image. If I can't find her leg, I have these flowers that I could put right there. I think it'll show up. All right, so this is just a piece from an old magazine that I have, and this is a little cluster from the book, and I'm just going to join that on that cluster. I think one of the future books I might do, I really like working with the clusters, is I might make some clusters and then put several of them in a book. Because I do like that that's already done for me. And it's small. It wasn't small that in real life, but now it, because of the printing, it's small. I have a little stamp. There's her leg. Still may put that floral piece there because I kind of like that. I have a little stamp that I'm going to use from the book. And I'm going to put that kind of right in here in this cluster. I'm not going to use these pieces right here. I'll save them for another project. And I don't think I'm going to use that either. So I really kind of like what I have there. I'm going to coat this. Now that I have everything where I want it, I'm going to give it a coat with some gel medium. Start on this side where the rice paper is. One of the things I do like to do when I collage is, after I have put a good coat of the gel medium all over the canvas, I like to use the Faber-Castell Pitt pens, and mostly I'll use the gray, but sometimes like a vintage brown, depends what I'm using. But I like to go around and kind of add some shadows, and that will also hit any little white spots that you didn't get. Now, you don't want to use the markers over the dry paper, you want to use it over dry gel medium, because then you will smear and you can blend it. If you use it on paper, they work just like regular markers and you don't have that flexibility. But if you use it over the dry, they do want to make sure that your gel medium is dry and not wet, because that will definitely destroy your marker if you get gel medium on the tips of them. Ask me how I know. So you have to really not be impatient. All right, let me get this little side here. All right, so what I'm going to do is add just a little bit of water, and I'm going to take my cartilage wedge and really make sure that I don't have any air bubbles trapped. I feel it's the ladies that the paper in these books is about a 60 to a 70 pound weight. So it's a little thicker than copy paper. It's still thin enough to collage nicely. If I get little air bubbles, usually we'll just poke some holes with an X-Acto. And then hit that again with a little bit of watered down gel medium so that I can kind of force that in under the paper. This I don't have any issues with, I don't believe. And then again, I can come with my cartilage wedge. And a lot of times it'll lay flat when it dries overnight. The next day, if you've got any issues. You got to be careful about working it too much, because you can tear your image that you're collaging. So I'm going to let that dry, and probably the next thing that I'll do is I'll probably come back and maybe ink some of the edges of the canvas with either this color or the brown that I have, and just kind of age it. But that's my project for book 2. And again, it's vintage and there is some modern in there. There's a lot of images. If you buy it digitally, you can resize the images, make them larger, make them smaller, depending what you need to do. You're welcome to scan the book if you buy the paperback book and print what you need. But I am going to let you all go, and thanks for watching. And I'll be back with another project in a couple days.